Hello and welcome to a new episode of the Beachside Podcast and the final episode of the Beachside Podcast season. I'm your host HOD, the BSB. Like, share, comment on the YouTube version of this, of course. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, enable notifications to receive all the updates from these episodes and the content that won't stop throughout the summer, hopefully. And we're going to probably do some special episodes here and there to talk about some transfers and stuff, some videos to talk about some transfers and stuff and what happens in the world anyway. But of course, follow us on social media, listen on Spotify, Google Podcasts or any other platform. And of course, thank you for the ride this season. It's been a rough ride. It's not as consistent as last season, but we've been able to do a good number of episodes. I mean, 57 episodes is a pretty big deal, I suppose, but you know, we hope to do more and we hope to keep continuing the content for the next few years, hopefully, and we make a big deal out of this. Welcome to the episode, of course, and let's get in with the content. Now, obviously, congratulations to Real Madrid, go for their 14th Champions League title win, of course, after beating Liverpool in the final. 1-0 it was at the Stade de France in Paris, of course. But before we get on to the match itself or whatever happened in it, let's talk about what happened before the game, which is a big part of the Champions League final, the celebrations, the ceremony, and the pre-rituals. And this was catastrophic, and let's not deny it, it was catastrophic because what happened before the game is pretty big deal. Of course, the game was scheduled to start at 8 p.m. World time or global time. Obviously, the game was delayed first by 15 minutes, then by other 15 minutes, and then it started at like 8:36 p.m. Global time or GMT +1 at the very least. And that was, of course, because there was some violence, some fans couldn't be getting into the stadium, fans with tickets didn't get in the stadium, fans without tickets wanting to get into the stadium, some fan clashes between the two sets of supporters, Real Madrid ultras and Liverpool supporters clashing outside the stadium. There was some stealing going on, for some Liverpool fans being stolen in front of the stadium, according to some reports. It was a big mess. I would think it didn't give the best of images to UEFA. And here's the thing. I'm Tunisian, I'm not making a secret about it, so our standard of organising big-scale events a la UEFA Champions League final watched by potentially 700-800 million person, I don't think it's that kind of big-scale event. The last big-scale event we really organised was an African Cup of Nations in 2004. So, the fact that we've been trolled, ridiculed, bullied, attacked for being incompetent in organising big events, it happened in the last African Cup of Nations, really. They absolutely slammed Cameroon for not organising it well, despite not really having the logistics that you would think a country should have for organising this big events. But now, since it's happening in France, and it's pretty much a big country in Europe that has the logistics to do such a thing, I think we should ridicule them and troll them as well for it, because it's more ridiculous that when it happens in France, when you supposedly having all the logistics and the world watching, and you have the support of UEFA, the support of FIFA, because for Africa, sometimes you don't have the support of the African confederations of football behind you, but in Europe that is sure that you will have the support of UEFA and the support of FIFA and the bunch of personalities happening and seeing the game, the big names seeing the game, the legends of football, the executives, there was I think the Qatar Prince was there, the King of Spain was there. It was really, really like this kind of weird atmosphere in the stadium and outside the stadium. There was big sections of the Liverpool fan section empty, with fans of course not getting in the stadium, fans jumping the fences, not even trying to jump the fences, jumping the fences. There was gas being sprayed at Liverpool fans. In my opinion, this is going to be a very, very well remembered final for all the wrong reasons aside from the football. I mean, not that people will forget the football, but are insiders and want to get deep into the analysis of football will remember this final for this big mess or big organisational mess that happened before it. Anyway, let's not really talk about that and waste time talking about that. We gave it enough time to address it. Let's get into the game itself, and obviously we start from the beginning There was, there was rumors and reports and very big, sources almost confirming that Thiago Alcantara wouldn't start the game for Liverpool and Naby Keita would start because of an injury in the warm-up. It turned out to be a false alert. Thiago started indeed the game alongside Henderson and Fabinho, the midfield that I expected to start, and the attack that I expected to start as well, with Salah, Diaz, and Mane also started for Liverpool. On the other side, it was a modified 4-3-3, kind of a 4-4-2, with Valverde dropping in as a fourth midfielder on the right hand side, Modric and Casemiro, of course, in the middle, and then you have Kroos on the left, linking up with Vinicius and Ferland Mendy. And the game was, I think it wasn't that complicated to explain. In footballing terms, in tactical terms, it was not hard to explain. Liverpool were one side playing, Real Madrid were mostly defending and trying to sting on the counter, and they did that to perfection, really. They had, I think Real Madrid had throughout the whole game 3 shots on target, or 2 massive opportunities, and in the end, they scored the biggest one that they had, thanks to Vinicius, in a crucial time in the second half. But before that, Liverpool tried everything, but one hero, I think, that you could attribute this final to, it's Thibaut Courtois. I've never seen a performance like that in the final of the Champions League. Throughout the tournament, he's been amazing, but in the final in particular, he really stole the show from anyone. Man of the match, of course, undisputed, and I think this is one of the greatest performances of a goalkeeper I've seen throughout the tournament, not just the final. He's been a big key in Real Madrid winning La Liga. He's been a big key in Real Madrid winning the Champions League. He's been a big part of the Real Madrid organisation and tactic for the last couple of years, and he's been underrated for the last couple of years as well, despite being one of the best. And I think now, after this season and this Champions League campaign in particular, if you still had any doubts that he's one of the best in the world, and if not the best at the moment, you're really not knowing what to talk about football at all. 9 shots on target for Liverpool. Courtois saved the 9 of them. That is just a ridiculous number of saves to be had in a final of the Champions League. I'm trying to cast my mind back to a great performance of a goalkeeper that I watched in the final of the Champions League. I mean, you look across any kind of final in the last 10, 15 years, stretch your mind, even 20, I don't think that there was a goalkeeper that his performance was as brilliant as Courtois, as great as Courtois in the 90 minutes, because there are finals, of course, that went to penalties. Famously, the 2003 final went to penalties. Dida was the hero. 2005 went to penalties, and Jerzy Dudek was the hero, and he had a double save in the final as well, but he conceded 3 goals then. So there is some absolutely great performances in the Champions League history from goalkeepers, but I think Courtois in this season might be top 5, top 3. If you have subjective favoritism towards him, you'll think he's number 1, and you have every right to think he's number 1, or the best performances of a goalkeeper ever. Maybe even in a single final of any single tournament. I mean, you talk about a side having a great goalkeeper. That's the definition of a great goalkeeper. Because Real Madrid, again, I said it, and I will still insist on saying it, are not a great team in terms of a great collective, but they have these sort of clinical players: Courtois, Modric, Benzema, in a lesser degree Vinicius. You have someone like Rodrigo on the bench. I mean, players that are key, but not exactly the greatest collective in the world. That's why they bring the games. That's why they bring the trophies to Real Madrid, because they have those players, those crucial players that hold the piece or hold the team together. Obviously, you cannot really discredit the entire team just because you think that there is players that are more important than others. I think you talk about someone like David Alaba coming from Bayern Munich. He had a great season, I think, with Real Madrid. He's been a solid addition in the back. And I'm not going to say he's been a great replacement for Ramos, but at the moment, he's doing a really good job at it. When you get your Champions League from the first season and La Liga from the first season with Real Madrid, something that Ramos couldn't do in both his seasons, certainly couldn't get the Champions League from his first season. I think he's been doing tremendously well, and is going to be a really solid addition and a complete different profile as well for a centre half. I mean, he doesn't do he's not the classic, one-on-one physical kind of stuff. He leaves that to Eder Militao, but probably he's one of those clean defenders that get the ball out. He does the job really well, and again, he's been tremendous throughout the competition, and I think he really deserves to be shown some love when it comes to the best players of Real Madrid this season, or trying to rank Real Madrid players this season. Again, it wasn't a complicated game. Real Madrid were mostly defending, Liverpool mostly attacking. Liverpool felt different. They felt a little bit stressed, a little bit worried. Not because they lack the experience, because I think you look across the board, probably you can say that only Konate and Diaz didn't really play Champions League finals. Thiago played twice. The Champions League final, Henderson played it twice already, Fabinho played it and won it already. So you have the experience in the side to not be worried about the final. Alisson played and won, so you don't have exactly some young players, up and coming academy players that you need to worry about or need to nurture. I think you have experience across the board. Even subs, there's Firmino, he played in that competition. There's Naby Keita who played in that tournament. So you don't really want to make it feel like you are stressed and nervous, but I think Liverpool somehow felt stressed and nervous, and as calm as Real Madrid were, as poised as Real Madrid were, as concentrated, big word, and a big insistence in my opinion on the word concentrated, because Real Madrid's problem, almost, flaw that was almost killing them in every match in the knockout stages before, was the fact that they have this 15, 20, 25 minutes where they completely lapse in concentration and get out of the game. And they weren't killed in any of the 3 knockout stages before. And in the final, it didn't happen. The crucial moment, that lapse of concentration, even for a slight period of 5-6 minutes, it didn't really happen. Despite Liverpool trying to force spaces, they couldn't, because Real Madrid's defense were not being dragged with the attackers of Liverpool. Firmino probably starting as a centre forward, or even changing the formation to a 4-2-3-1 would have worked if it started from the beginning, because against a side like Real Madrid, who would love to stay deep, would not be dragged out too much with the attackers. You see Alaba and Militao pretty much staying in position for the whole game, not really being dragged out, with Mane leaving that job to Casemiro, allowing Kroos and Modric to do their basic job, which is to take the ball under pressure and transition forward with as minimum of touches as possible to Vinicius and Karim Benzema. Karim Benzema didn't have the greatest of finals, basically because he didn't score, but I think, he was a little bit subpar, but he didn't need to be great. I mean, Real Madrid winning the Champions League would vindicate his season enough on its own, and he's been underrated a lot, he's been trolled a lot, rightly so for sometimes, but I think overall he deserved to win this Champions League. He deserved to cap off this season with a Champions League win. It's a vindicating run for Real Madrid. For Liverpool, again, nothing really worked. The set pieces, they were one of the most brilliant sides in taking the set pieces. They didn't take them really well. Real Madrid defended them really well. Alexander Arnold in particular had some of the rash decisions that you associate with someone that doesn't have his experience, and believe it or not, he has some experience despite the fact that he's 23 years old. He has a lot of experience to rely on, so he shouldn't be doing this kind of stuff, playing corners as bad as he did. Some of the decision making Liverpool players at certain points, passing instead of shooting, or shooting instead of passing, taking an extra touch when they didn't need to. Luis Diaz in particular, I thought, wasn't really on par in the game. And when Dani Carvajal, a player who has been ridiculed and trolled as well a lot, has a great game on you, you know that he's not doing well. And Dani Carvajal, in my opinion, defensively, might be one of the worst right backs in the world. Offensively, he might be one of the greats, but I think defensively, he's one of the worst in the world. And the fact that Luis Diaz couldn't have a game on him, I mean, obviously, probably down to the fact that, Valverde was forming this kind of front with Carvajal, helping him out. Eder Militao was covering every time on him. That helped, but I think on a one-on-one situation, Luis Diaz didn't do himself justice. in front of Danny Carvajal. Salah probably was the best Liverpool player in the game. He missed like 2 or 3 opportunities where he should have scored. I mean, again, it goes back and comes around to Courtois being the greatest player on the pitch on the night, and he was absolutely tremendous. 9 shots on target from Liverpool, 9 saves. That's the only stat I need to say. And he's been the man who brought the trophy to Real Madrid, given Ancelotti his 6th Champions League in total, 2 as a player, 4 as a coach, and being the coach with the most combined Champions Leagues in history, with, as a coach, as a manager, of course, 2 with Milan as a coach, 2 with Real Madrid now as a coach, and 2 with Milan as a player. For Liverpool, I think it's been a bad ending for the season. They won the Carabao Cup and the FA Cup, but it's a bad ending. It's not a catastrophical ending, because they still won some trophies. They still competed for the Premier League title and the Champions League title, but I think when the crucial moments, man, of the decision making was pretty nervous and stressful from Liverpool players. They didn't find the spaces that they wanted to find for Salah and Mane. They didn't have so many runs like they wanted to behind the likes of Mendy and Carvajal. They were forced to play inside. They were forced to play in the crowded areas where the Real Madrid players were gathering, and the midfield was pretty crowded with players. Again, with a 4-4-2. The midfield for Real Madrid will always be crowded with players. Modric and Kroos will always be there. Casemiro will be there. And of course Valverde is providing the support. Camavinga came in. More control of the game. More control of the pace. And then you have, of course, your Dani Ceballos and those substitutions that you just know that Real Madrid are going to be dying to save that goal and defending with all of their lives. And they did that wonderfully. And again, they didn't have that lapse in concentration. They won the title. It is simple as that. Again, if you have a great attack, that will bring you trophies. But when you have a great goalkeeper now, it will, if you have a great attack, it will bring you games. But if you have a great goalkeeper in Courtois, it will bring you trophies. And indeed, it brought them the Champions League trophy for the 14th time. The first in Courtois' history, believe it or not. That's the only time he wins the Champions League. The first time, the 5th for Kroos, the 5th for Casemiro, the 5th for Luka Modric, the 5th or the 3rd for David Alaba as well, the 5th for Karim Benzema, the 5th for Gareth Bale as well, the 1st for Eden Hazard. Somehow he's been in the squad. Let's give him that, really. The 1st for someone like Militao, the 5th for Carvajal, of course, the 1st for Fenlon Mendy. I mean, it's going to be a great experience to have all the players of Real Madrid. Of course, the 5th for Marcelo as well. Certainly, the 5th for Isco. The 2nd or the 3rd, I think, for Dani Ceballos has been part of the squad in 2017 and 2018. Across the board, Champions League winners. Nacho, 5 winners' medals in that competition as well. So realistically speaking, a much deserved win for Real Madrid. A great run and a great win to boot against Liverpool. They beat PSG, one of the strongest sides in Europe, and they beat the top 3 of the Premier League, which is really saying something about the quality of the Premier League against Real Madrid. Obviously, not against the whole of La Liga, but against Real Madrid itself. Any league in the world is secondary, and any team in the world is secondary in front of Real Madrid. 14 trophies now. And it's a ridiculous number. It's a ridiculous number, not just about the fact that nobody's going to catch up, but also it's a ridiculous number of any continental competition to win in any continent, to basically be, I'm not going to say that easy, but that intrinsically linked with a club like the Champions League of Europe is linked with Real Madrid. For Liverpool, good luck. Obviously, they will be hoping to do that next season. They'll be hoping to redo the thing next season. Jurgen Klopp is continuing, of course, with the club. Certainly, there will be some players leaving. Probably some big names probably leaving. Sadio Mane, Mo Salah on top of that list. Sadio Mane seems to be close to joining Bayern. We can get to that in a separate video, hopefully. Salah probably leaving to Real Madrid if there's an offer. PSG, potentially. We don't know what the situation is going to be like. and certainly there will be some new players bought and some refreshments overhaul in the squad probably is going to be made and needed to go again next season. And with the organisation that Klopp has and with the mentality that Klopp has, I think it will produce a great team. Again, it will continue the great cycle of Liverpool that they've been into since the arrival of Klopp. Again, much a deserved win, of course, for Real Madrid and for Liverpool, of course. Really one of those nights that they should forget pretty soon, because it will sting, but they should forget pretty soon and prepare for the next objectives, of course, for the next season. It was a great campaign. It was a great ending for Real Madrid on the other side. 14 trophies. Congratulations. That's it for this episode, the final episode of the season. Like, share, comment on it, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Of course, we'll keep the content going. There'll be videos uploaded, hopefully, on a daily basis onto the channel across the summer vacation, of course, summer holidays. I mean, they're not really holidays. There will be some playoffs to be talked about. There will be some qualifiers in some continents. Of course, in Africa, there will be the qualifiers for the African Cup of Nations next year. Certainly preparations for the World Cup. UEFA Nations League is there. Certainly there will be some games, again, playoffs, friendlies, international friendlies, tournaments as well. There's a lot to talk about, and of course transfer window is the biggest talk of them all. But again, like, share, comment on the YouTube version, subscribe to the YouTube channel, enable notifications to receive all the updates from the channel. Thank you for the 1.7k. Hopefully we reach 2k before the World Cup, and we're going to do obviously big content in that World Cup period with the start of next season. We'll try and do the revamping of the podcast as usual from the second to the third season, and hopefully we go strong again. Thank you for the support. Thank you for every like, every comment, every view that you put on the videos on this channel here. And of course, follow us on social media. We'll still post there. I'm going to be probably more on Twitter throughout the summer, talking, making spaces about football, of course. Probably even some trivia questions even. I mean, organising some competitions. Who knows what will happen. Listen on Spotify, Google Podcasts, or any other platform. Check the previous episodes. And of course, we're going to be making some special videos, talk about some transfers in the meanwhile as well. Thank you for watching. Until I see you again in another video. Take care. Goodbye.